sometimes permaculture farming is not as easy as it looks. Sometimes it's glamorous, sometimes it's very wet and very muddy. The Gold Coast hasn't been quite so gold lately, and we're battling a lot of mud and a lot of flooding. But as they say, happy as a pig in mud, and these guys seem to still be really happy. We've still got 10 out of 10 piglets. They're all doing really well, all feeding really well. As you can see, they have a lot of fun, make a lot of noise when they feed. Pepper the pig is doing really well. And looks like the rain's going to keep coming for a while, so our job is a lot of changing of beds, keeping everybody warm and dry. It's tough, dirty, muddy work. Sometimes stinks a bit, but it's a lot of fun and very rewarding. So this is one of our new duck enclosures, giant fruit box that we've put a wire fence around just to keep them safe at night. During the day they get to go out on the dam and swim around the dam, but at night, because of wild dogs and dingoes around here, we put them in the pen. As you can see, with the recent flooding we've got, one of the boxes is now turned into a bit of a river object, and I'll put some star pickets behind it to stop it flowing into the dam. But there's plenty of other boxes for the ducks to shelter at night. Got nice straw in it to keep them warm. Now this one, we've got to hope we can clean up and it doesn't rot too quickly. On the way to Currumbin on the Gold Coast, going to the local beekeepers meeting to learn a little bit more about keeping bees. It's a lot harder than people think. It's a lot of work involved, but again the rewards are fantastic. Honey straight out of the hive, filtered once. Remembering the study which showed recently that most honey in the US came from China, and so was so filtered that it contained hardly any elements of honey and certainly contained no pollen. So it's fantastic to be able to get our own healthy honey. It's really amazing what you can actually get from keeping bees. People think the price of beeswax candles is expensive, but when you see how much work and how much love goes into the production, they're well worth the cost, and particularly when you consider the toxins which come out of burning some of the petrochemical candles and the environmental costs of soy and palm oil candles. I think beeswax candles are fantastic, and then as well as getting the unfiltered honey or single filtered honey out of the bees, you also can get other superfoods, bee pollen, royal jelly, propolis, all of which got clinically proven incredible benefits, and also makes it really easy to get food from the insect world. I'd rather have some honey than eat a grasshopper. So most of us do much better if we get some food from the insect world, and that's an easy way to do it. So we're going down there to see if we can learn a little bit more, have some fun and have a good feed while we're there. We attended the Gold Coast beekeepers meeting this morning and learnt a lot about keeping a happy, healthy hive. And it was interesting because the big problem in Queensland with beehives is the hive beetle, which gets in and lays its eggs in the cells and kills the bees. But everybody's experience said that as long as you keep a healthy hive, and the key to keeping a healthy hive is not taking too much honey from it, leaving enough honey for the bees as well as taking honey for us. And if you do that, you have a healthy hive. And as long as you've got a healthy hive, then the bees are able to resist the hive beetle. As you can see, we've got Italian bees which aren't aggressive at all unless I try and open the hive and take some honey from them, but otherwise they're really kind of friendly. So our goal is to keep a healthy hive, and it's just like us with our health. As long as we maintain a healthy internal environment, we can resist disease, and it's only when we become imbalanced that we start to get disease. Now, as you can see, with a lot of the rain, some of my hives are moving forward, so I'm just going to push the hive backwards, and even if I push the hive backwards, that the bees won't cause me a problem. This is our turmeric, the great Indian spice that I write about all the time. The medicinal properties are really just starting to explode in the research area, particularly in terms of cancer and asthma. It's growing like wildfire here, as is our sweet potato, otherwise known as kuma in New Zealand. And I'm just about to prune it back a little bit because it's growing so much, and every week I have to prune it back. But as well as harvesting the kuma, we use the leaves to feed to our pigs and goats, and they all love it. So I'm just about to give it a prune. But as you can see, it grows amazingly well. Each weekend, the final half of my video will be about 3 socio-economic trends which I feel that I can no longer stay separate from, because I think they portend a storm which is coming. Then there'll be 5 news articles from the scientific literature about natural health, which reinforce the role of complementary medicine in a healthcare system. The first of the 3 socio-economic trends comes from the Los Angeles Times, where they report that China, which used to be the greatest exporter of gold, is now about to surpass India this year as the greatest importer of gold. The Chinese people are using gold as a store of wealth, as an investment, and as a protection against economic collapse. So if the Chinese are doing it, it's certainly something that we should be giving consideration to as well. The second socio-economic trend I want to talk about comes from a quote from Patrick Young, an investment advisor in the UK, where he talks about what's happening in Greece. And he says, quote, "The Greek people are absolutely stranded and their economy is in a death spiral. I see what's happening in Greece as a financial contagion which is being continuously kicked down the road, but which is eventually going to spread like an out-of-control virus and involve all of us." So again, something for us to prepare for. The third of the economic trends I want to discuss comes from Bob Chapman's latest newsletter, The International Forecaster, where he discusses the fact that Iran is now doing oil deals with India for rupees in a barter system, completely bypassing the dollar. This means $12 billion of business is now being done outside the dollar. He feels that the economic sanctions against Iran are going to fail, which will increase the likelihood of escalating conflict, which is something that we should think about when we're preparing for what lies ahead. Finally, I'd like to discuss 5 new research papers in the scientific literature which reinforce natural health as part of a comprehensive health program. The first one I want to discuss is an article about magnesium, which is essentially an article about the orthodox medical use of magnesium rather than the complementary use of magnesium. But it's interesting to see that orthodox medicine now is seeing the role of magnesium as being much more expanded than it has been. The article discusses the use of magnesium in acute myocardial infarction, as protection during open heart surgery and treatment of heart arrhythmias. It also discusses the role of magnesium in the treatment of tetanus and acute asthma, and includes the article by saying that magnesium is a cost-effective, widely used drug with multidisciplinary applications. Its majority of physiological effects are attributed to its calcium channel blocking abilities, which is, from my perspective, one of the great things about magnesium, because it's one of the minerals which takes calcium from the tissues and returns it to the bones. So you get soft arteries and hard bones, and that's what we want. Magnesium very unique in its ability to do that. Second article I want to discuss comes from Korea. It's about the use of the greatest researched Chinese herb of all time, the amazing Reishi mushroom. And again, it's found that Reishi mushroom extracts are effective in causing suicide of leukemic cells. So I think the role of the medicinal mushrooms, particularly Reishi mushroom in cancer, is just starting to be explored, and there's huge potential. Third article I want to discuss comes from Japan. It's about the role of zinc in autism. They studied hair levels in a whole lot of autistic children, and they found that they were significantly low in zinc, and they concluded that zinc has a role in the causation of autism, zinc deficiency. What they don't discuss is the role of pyrrole disorder, which we see frequently. Pyrrole disorder is a genetic condition where you genetically manufacture too many pyrroles in the body. You make pyrroles when you make heme for hemoglobin. Some people genetically make way too many. When you make way too many pyrroles, you excrete them in the urine. The trouble is when you excrete them in the urine, you also excrete zinc and vitamin B6. So you become profoundly low in zinc and vitamin B6. Zinc and vitamin B6 are critical for a number of things in the body, but they're particularly required for the production of neurotransmitters in the brain, particularly serotonin and GABA. They're also required for the production of metallothioneins in the body, and metallothioneins are how you get rid of heavy metals. So you tend to accumulate heavy metals, particularly mercury and copper. So that's the mechanism, in my opinion, that zinc is always involved in autistic and behavioural disorders. Third study I want to discuss is a study from Malaysia which shows that parasites such as blastocystis and dientomoeba are frequently found to be infecting cancer patients having chemotherapy, and the article suggests that chemotherapy patients are predisposed to parasite infections because of their weakened immune system, and they should be frequently screened for them. There are other people around the world who feel that parasitic infections with amoebic parasites and yeast cells are actually one of the causative effects of cancer. So the question is it a result of the cancer that you get these infections, or is it a cause of the cancer you get these infections? Nonetheless, it doesn't really matter. What is really required is eradication of these infections in any cancer patient. The next study comes from Spain, and it's a really fascinating study about the use of raw cacao in the prevention of allergic diseases, and they found that people who had some cacao every day had a dramatically reduced level of IgE. IgE is the antibody which causes allergies, and they found that people having raw cacao every day had the potential to have dramatically reduced incidence of allergic disease. So again, another reason that we should try and have small amounts of raw cacao in our diet every day, on top of its benefits in cardiovascular disease. And finally, the fifth study is a study on one of my favourite fruits of all time, which is the pomegranate, the great Persian fruit. And this is a study from Saudi Arabia which discusses new evidence coming out that extracts from pomegranate are able to assist in weight loss, and they say the potential for the use of pomegranate in the treatment of obesity really needs to be investigated a lot more. I say don't worry about the investigations. The benefits of pomegranate are so huge that all of us should be trying to get pomegranate in our diets every day. So bye for now, and I'll see you next week from the farm.